weeks ago, the health workers in Nigeria suspended their industrial action, but they are really concerned that some of their demands are yet to be met by the federal government and relevant stakeholders. Hello and welcome to Labour Lens. I am Sharon Ijason. We also have news stories for you. We will be right back. The federal government has withdrawn its contempt suit against the organized labor in light of its recent nationwide protests due to high cost of living. The notice of consequence of disobedience to order of court, also titled Form 48, was filed before the National Industrial Court in Abuja. The suit accused the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria of resisting and other restricting the unions from embarking on industrial action. Shortly after the suit was filed, the National Executive Committee of the NLC rose up, giving up till 14th of August to withdraw such summons for contempt or face real industrial action. However, the Nigerian Labour Congress President Joe Ajero told reporters that the National Executive Committee of the NLC had resolved to further take action on the position of the Industrial Court and Ministry of Justice through the Solicitor General of the Federation. Ajero further stated that the Ministry of Justice, through the Solicitor General of the Federation, sent a letter withdrawing the charge. The need for workers' training and retraining was re-emphasized at this event. The training focused on work ethics, grievance settling, occupational health and safety, and awareness about labor laws and procedures for resolving disputes in the world of work. The Director General of the institution, Issa Aremu, in an interview says the exercise is aimed to encourage innovative approaches to address the challenges faced by the staff.
It's time for us to avoid polarization, avoid fighting, but it's not the time for re-dialogue to look at what the issues are. And I've no doubt in my mind that it's still not late for us to have protest. It's not late for government and labor to sit together. And this is what we are here for, to promote that capacity for negotiation, for compromises, at the case. But we can have a win-win solution. And on the last note, even the disagreements are also very healthy because it's about development.
The expected outcome of the program is a more cohesive and productive relationship between the staff and management of the National Assembly. This harmonious environment is believed to strengthen the democratic process, leading to increased efficiency and effectiveness in the nation's legislative arm.
The ministry is very, very excited at this innovation, and we are really impressed and happy with the institute, which incidentally happens also to be our agency. So it shows you the push that the ministry and the agency has towards bridging the gap and letting the relevant sectors in Nigeria, especially the National Assembly, on labor administrations and how to foster the kind of relationship that is going to make administration of labor along all strata to be very effective, harmonious, and progressive, because we want a progressive, safe and decent industrial relations and labor relations with Nigerian workers and Nigerians as a whole.
The National Assembly's Union, the Parliamentary Staff Association of Nigeria, plays a significant role in the advocacy for workers' welfare.
The Senior Staff Association of Shipping, Clearing and Forwarding Agencies Women Commission recently organized its Maiden Women's Seminar and Award Ceremony under the theme, Navigating New Horizons, Empowering Women in the Digital Maritime Era. The seminar served as a platform for discussions on women emancipation and the drive to bring women closer to leadership positions in the maritime industry. Technology and innovation were at the forefront of these discussions, with participants recognizing the transformative impact they have on the industry and the pivotal role of women in driving and leveraging these achievements.
Before, you can only find one woman as a secretary, but today You can find women in professional areas. We have the African woman in maritime who is taking care of all the women in the maritime, not only in Nigeria, but outside Nigeria. They are doing great and mighty things. We have the Sun women in the Sun who are maritime lawyers, and equally they are breaking even. We are calling this conference to give boldness, confidence into women that they are not only limited to their husbands, to their children, to their home, but they should come out, break even, make it in society, bring out the shipping line that the woman will one day be on the top of their affairs and will have a woman as a woman captain of Nigeria.
Women in a male-dominated environment, all I can say is that they should hold themselves together. They should work together in solidarity. And they should lift each other up, no matter what the challenges may be. Nothing comes easy. And today, the world is growing women. Whatever it is we do, you find out that women are the ones that are being given more opportunities than men. And the women shouldn't take it for granted. They should appreciate it, and at the same time appreciate the men or our men that are supporting us and are assisting us and lifting us up and putting us where we are.
The event emphasized the importance of women positioning themselves.
Today, we are talking about everybody wants to be efficient in whatever he or she is doing. And today, the use of machines, the use of appliances, electronic appliances and so on and so forth, is very, very key, in the life of every worker. As the world is moving, we have to move along with the world. So we need to sensitize, our members, as per the need to embrace all these technological advancements that are being deployed to various industries today. Shipping should not be left out.
Exceptional women in the maritime industry were honored with awards for their outstanding contributions and achievements.
When the head is rotting, what happened to the whole body? It will affect the whole body. Now, when you are talking about collective bargaining and government not honoring it, now you start from the government. What happened to other companies? Because they look at the government, they follow their steps. So it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing at all. How can you agree with the workers and at the end of the day, we not agree on what is put on paper? It's not a good thing, and that is one of the challenges that we have in the labor sector. When you look at the issue of EASU, it's a very good example. There are many agreements that the government has entered with EASU, but up till today, I'm not sure they will be able to, do 20 or 25% of it. So it's not a good thing. And like I said, we can't blame many companies for not agreeing. I mean, for not, how will I put it? Honoring their agreement with the workers. Because when you look at government is not playing its part, it's not doing the needful. So what happened? Others will follow footsteps. So it's not a good thing. They are not laying good example for companies. So it's something that government needs to look into. Thank God we have a new government, and it's something that they should try to address.
The issue of collective bargaining agreement is not limited to, or the non honoring of our collective bargaining agreement is not limited to the government alone. It involves all, mostly employers, generally, whether private or public. But if you don't honor an agreement that you freely enter into, what is the implication? First and foremost, you breach trust. You've created a deficit, trust deficit. Nothing you will tell the other party that you want to do. First of all, go back and implement the agreement. And in as much as you have not implemented the agreement, that issue that you freely entered into will never be resolved. And when it is not resolved, you lead to disputes, industrial crisis, industrial arrest, that at the end, if you have implemented it, you would have saved a lot of things. If it is a strike that it has resulted to, the consequences of strike is better imagined than experienced. It could lead to several things. So it is honorable and advisable. If you cannot enter into an agreement, don't. If you know you cannot implement agreement, don't enter into it at all. Because as soon as you enter into agreement, you have committed yourself to the agreement.
The government is insincere in its own agreement. When it says, I'm going to do this today, tomorrow, they will not do exactly what they promise, and it's very, very bad. And when you're on the side of the labor and you feel that government is not honoring the collective bargaining that you agreed, then you are forced to do the next thing, which is the strike. So the insincerity of those people negotiating on behalf of the government or on behalf of even the private sector, if they are not sincere, the government will not honor it. Let me give you an instance. If I'm the one representing the federal or state government in a negotiation, and I will go back to the government and say, this is what we agree. The person may not tell the government exactly what they have agreed in that negotiation, and government will now start acting the other way around. But if you sincerely take it to the government and say, this is what we agreed, the workers have said that you are going to give us 25 million naira or not, and you tell the government exactly the agreement, the government will abide by that. But if the negotiator of that agreement is not sincere to government, there is every tendency that government will not honor it. And that is the challenges we are having today.
On the Profile Interview segment this week, I'll be speaking with the Secretary General of the Medical and Health Workers Union of Nigeria. He brought us up to speed on several challenges workers in the healthcare sector are faced with, while highlighting the need for government at all levels to honor collective bargaining agreement, as many of their demands have not been met since 2009. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much, and my pleasure.
A lot has happened in the healthcare sector, especially after the suspension of the indefinite strike called by JOESU. Can you bring us up to speed if there has been any changes since the strike was called off months ago?
Well, thank you very much for this very important question. Let me start by appreciating and commending the entire family of JOESU in Nigeria for their commitment, for their sacrifice and solidarity, as well as loyalty to the leadership of JOESU. Responding to your question of if there is any development, yeah, I think we decided to put on hold the industrial action at JOESU level following the intervention of so many well-meaning Nigerians, as well as our mind of always trying to be a peacemakers, as well as some people who believe that healthcare delivery is not for the big people, it's for common man. There was a committee set up by the federal government to take a look at our issues and discuss and submit its report for federal government for implementation. And if you could recollect vividly, that committee was at the tail end of the former government of Muhammadu Buhari. So I think the committee sat and there was a robust discussion between the committee and the federal government. Coming to the issue of probably what we discussed and arrived at the committee, yeah, we agreed the withheld salary of April and May, following our participation of our national industrial action, which by then Minister of Labor, Chris Ngigi, directed to retain the salary, capitalizing on issue of no work, no pay. The committee discussed and it has even put a memo to the president for consideration on compassionate ground. I
would still like to draw you back to the issue of withheld salaries. That was due to the no work, no pay stand by the federal government then during the strike that happened in 2020. What has been the feedback of your members that after more than 2 years, right now they still have not been able to receive salary for those months?
Well, thank God, I think, as I said, some category of members have been paid, and some are at the pipeline of the payment, whereby this the former government tenure is paid. So I think in our last meeting at Juhesu level, we agreed that the payment or the release of that withheld salary shall continue, more especially to those that are yet to be paid. But what importantly we hammer on is the issue of conherence adjustment. This conherence salary structure adjustment, if you recollect, it was approved by the federal government, and it was even at the stage of implementation, I think, at fiscal revenue and mobilization for betting, where our sister medical doctors decided to raise alarm that in as much as conherence is adjusted, they will also demand for review of comments. And I want to inform you that the comments salary structure was reviewed upward almost twice. So I think that's why Juhesu leadership feel that we must restart somewhere. If you could remember, we issued an ultimatum, and we even embarked on that industrial action for 2 days, whereby President Bola Ahmed Tinubu decided to intervene on the issue. Let me use this medium and opportunity to, in a serious note, commend and appreciate President Bola Tinubu for his quick intervention. If maybe issues of paramount importance, I think addressed at the early stage, I can tell you the industrial disharmony which is existing between the Labour family and the federal government or whatever government, I think it will not be even there. And as the meantime, I want to use this opportunity to call on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to kindly, as a matter of urgency, try to see that the issue at stake, it even goes to the conclusion stage. I can tell you, the Jesu family, as I said, we are peacemakers, and we don't have any issue that will create a havoc between federal government and our members.
There's been this trend of government not honoring agreement. Most of these agreements or some of these issues that stimulated industrial action at one point or the other are agreements that had been signed since the year 2009. As a trade unionist, do you think that for every memorandum of understanding that is reached between government and the unions, do you think that there must be a timeline that must be put in place for the implementation, or do you think that there should be laws to protect whatever MOU that is reached between government and the people?
The answer is simple. At whatever MOU signed, I think that it is very important to reflect a specific time frame. Number two, a leader who is a law-abiding leader must comply as well as respect constitutional provision as well as agreement or resolutions. This is the challenge that this current government will try to address securely. Agreement is an agreement, be it court judgment, be it memorandum of understanding, be it collective bargaining agreement signed. I think as a law-abiding citizens, we have to agree as well as abide by whatever resolution, whatever conditions reached and signed. And let me tell you, all the MOU or the agreement reached between government and the labor side, it was not under duress. It was because it was as a result of, I think, collective argument and collective decision that even warrant to reach at a level of signing agreement. So I think one is expected to go with his agreement and one is expected to go with what he committed himself to do. So the only thing I can tell this government is let's try as much as it can to respect agreement. We know Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a law-abiding citizen, and we are optimistic he will do everything possible to ensure that even the people that who are in his cabinet must be law-abiding people. Labour is a law-abiding organization or umbrella, and in as much as I think President will adjust on that, Sharon, I can tell you this industrial disharmony between government and labor family, it will not even surface again.
Still talking about collective bargaining agreement, health workers have been complaining that there's some of their allowances that has not been paid by government. We know that this administration just commenced, they just kicked off a few months ago. What will be your message? Would you want to state some of the allowances that are still outstanding?
Yeah, I think part of the conditions I think tabled before Mr. President or before the present government, I think there is a review of that of some allowances. Yeah, as I said, we are all responsible citizens. We all know whether if government has money or not, we all know. But the issue of money or not, I think that aside, the most important, as you rightly pointed out, if agreement is reached, I think it's better for the two parties to respect that agreement. And the agreement is not binding. There are some conditions that maybe if there is shortfall of money, we can revisit the conditions and see how we can do alignment and adjustment. So I think for somebody to say maybe government doesn't have money, no. We don't table issue to government where we know government will not have the financial strength to handle it.
Okay, finally, there's still this brain drain that the country is faced with, and we know that health is wealth. What are your concerns and what are your recommendations towards ensuring that professionals that the university system is able to churn out some of them are probably retained in the system so that we can all be well?
Well, thank you very much, Sharon. To be sincere with you, the issue is very worrisome. And if care is not taken, looking at number of, when I say health professional, I am trying to include everybody within the health industry. It's very worrisome. People are moving out to outside the country, looking for better job elsewhere. And unfortunately, we Nigerians, we are not paying utmost attention to it. I think instead of us to address what were the causes, the genesis of people leaving their home country to other country to render services, I think if you can remember there was an issue at House of Representatives of Senate where they were even trying to enforce law that will deny everybody moving out to the country, which is not the best. We know as a health professionals, one, you have to create a better working environment for those health professionals. Two, the facilities. The facilities, I think Nigeria is the only country in Africa below the average level of having up-to-date global, up-to-date equipments and materials. Then thirdly, if you take a look of even the ratio, yeah, you can go to hospital now, they will say one doctor will see at least 50 patients per day. Some are even 200 patients per day. But go to the private hospitals. Go to the public hospitals owned by federal government and go to the private hospitals owned by private individuals. You can see they have facilities, they have equipment, they have items, but in public health institutions or facilities, you can't see those equipment. So the issue is government must prioritize health issue as number one, because you rightly say health is wealth. Without health, all other things, I think all other things should be an alternative. So I think the only issue to address this issue of people moving out to the country, as I said, one, better working condition, two, provision of equipment and materials, three, in the health sector, everybody is important. That issue of segregation between health professionals, between medical doctors and nurses, between medical doctors and medical lab scientists, or medical doctors and other health professionals, I think it needs to immediately be stopped. Then I think the last thing I can add, in my opinion, honestly, the engagement of state government, because most of the state government, you will see that they will sponsor people, take them outside the country, train them, but when they come back, as I said, they don't even have the facility to consume them as a medical personnel, so they will not have an alternative rather than to move out from the country and go where I think they are needed.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember that labor creates wealth.